Guys, in the last video, we got the basic Angular app up and running, but now we're going to integrate everything else. So let's go ahead and take a look at kind of what we have up here. So we have our initialization of the app up here in the HTML tag, and then we have our controller in the body tag, and then we have an input and then a button. And we talked about the ng model and how that was tied to the value that we set in the controller. So then that sets up the two-way binding if we choose to use it that way. We also have a submit to do button that we kind of that we're going to use for adding to dos. So let's kind of get into starting from there. So the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a couple of unordered lists, and those are going to differentiate between what's completed and incomplete. And so I'm just going to copy paste these just so I don't waste a bunch of time typing that stuff out. And then of course we'll make it look presentable here. So you see that we have two unordered lists. One is using incomplete to-dos and the other one is using complete to-dos. ngRepeat is basically iterating over or looping over an array and giving us the ability to print things out multiple times. For example, we have an array in our that we will build in the controller called incomplete to-dos. And those incomplete to-dos, every time there's a new index in the array, it will print out the I to do. So each particular index in the array will take on this alias, and then it will say I to do dot title, and then for every single one, it will print the I to do title and then the ng click the span. So ng click is a click listener for the click event, and so we're gonna set every time this span gets clicked, it's going to fire this function that we're going to write called complete to-dos. And these functions also live in the controllers. And what we're doing is we're passing this particular I to do in so we can access that and mark it as complete. And the same thing kind of goes for the complete. We have this to do alias, and then for each one we're going to print the to do.title. And then we're going to have a remove to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to have two lists, right? The first list is going to set it from complete or incomplete to complete, and then the second list, the complete to do list, is going to have us remove it if you click the little X marked here. So let's go over to app.js and kind of show you guys how things work. The first thing is we're going to create something called get to-dos. And what's going to happen here is this is going to send a request to our server to get these to-dos. So let's go ahead and do that. But first we're going to declare, actually I lied, we are going to say scope.get to-dos equals function such. And then in here, we are going to set, we're going to create two other scope variables that are going to have, one of this is going to be our incomplete to-dos and the other is going to be our complete to-dos. So let's make that happen. So we'll say scope.incomplete to-dos equals an empty array. And then we'll have scope.complete to-dos is also going to have an empty array. All right, so now we're going to do some. We're going to use the $HTTP function that we put into here. We're going to inject that HTTP service into this particular controller, and now that's going to let us make HTTP or API calls. So we're going to say http.get, and then we'll say /to-do. So get me all of the to-dos. Then. And then we'll have a function. And then in here, that's going to take the response object. And so we will have res.data, and we'll say .map. So now we're going to loop through everything here. And then we're going to have access to the current value of the array, and we're going to say if the current value in the array that we're at is not completed, so if item dot completed for crying out loud, completed, then we're going to scope dot incomplete or incompleted to dos dot push item, and then we're going to have the else statement. So if it is complete, scope dot completed to dos dot push item. And that's pretty much it for this. So what we're doing here is we're making an API call for the to-dos. Then based on the response object, we're going to say res.data. So res.data is the array of to-dos that we are going to loop over with map. And we're saying if item is not completed, then put it in the incomplete to-dos array. If it is completed, put it in the to-dos array. And so now, below this get to-dos, we want, every time this page loads, we want this scope.get to-dos to happen. So we're going to call this. So that's to show them on the page. Now we have scope.submit to do. And so here, if we go back to our index page, we see scope.submit to do. And we have access to what we need in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say $http.post, and then we're going to do our / to-dos, right? Because we have this / to-dos file for the add one. I guess it's kind of it is here. So we have this post file that's going to listen for post requests and is going to fire the add one. And the add one is going to let us insert it. So if we go back here, we say / to-dos, and then it takes two parameters. It takes the URL, and then it also takes the data. So in here, we're going to put title, and that's going to be scope.new to do. And then that will make that happen. So we'll say .then. And actually, we can put a nifty little arrow function and say, as soon as that happens, just make another call for scope.get to-dos. All right. So that should work for that. Now let's do the complete to-dos. So once they're in the incomplete, now we can click that little X to the right side of it, and it'll make it, it'll change it from incomplete to complete. So for this, we're going to do scope.complete to-dos function, and then here we're going to say http.put, because we had a put request on that, and that required, let's use a little nifty backtick, so / to-dos. And then with the template literals, with the backticks, we can just say / $, and then here, and then we'll say, let me take a look. Yeah, so now we're going to have access to our to-do that we're passing in. We'll have our to-do.id. And then we're going to do a second thing that's going to have completed true, since we want to change it from incomplete to complete. And then we'll have a .then. And then we'll just do the same thing. Actually, we can just do this. Then we're just going to refresh the the to-do list. Awesome, and that's really that. Now we're gonna do the last one, scope.remove to do. Actually, let's go back and take a look at how this works. So it's gonna be in this I to do and incomplete to dos. It's gonna take our incomplete to do that we click, and it's gonna fire that complete to do method, and it's gonna pass in that particular to do, and then it's going to send it to the to do ID, and then we're gonna set the completed property to true. And then once that happens, when it refreshes, it'll change from one list to the other. So now we have remove, scope.remove equals function. And then here we're going to have http.delete. And we'll do that same /to-dos, / this, and then to-do.id, which means we still need to pass in the to-do, which we have set out in this file. So we are passing in the to-do. And now that is really all we need for this one, because it's not going to take any extra data. And we'll say .then, and then just copy paste that whole get to-dos thing just so we can refresh it. Now, we could use some sort of workaround using this thing called scope.apply. However, we're just gonna do it this way. It's more straightforward. And that's pretty much it. So let's check and see if this works. I have the server up and running, and we can just go in here and refresh. And it looks like something is broken. Let's see what's going on here. We need to put an H3 right here. So we'll say incomplete to-do list, incomplete to-do list. Let's refresh it. Awesome. So now let's try adding something. So our first to-do, and that shows up right there. I should probably close this. If we click this, now it'll turn it complete, which it doesn't. Let's see if there's any errors. No errors. Let's see what's going on here. Scope.complete to-dos. Oh, complete to-do. This needs to be removed to-do. So let's give this a shot again. If we click this, now it goes to complete, and if we click it again, it goes to to-do. So we'll say our second to-do, and then we'll say our third to-do. Then we click our second to-do. Now our second to-do is complete, and now our third to-do is complete. And then once we do that, we can just clear both of those. We could put buttons in there and stuff, but it was just a proof of concept at that point. It would be the same exact thing. You could just do an ng click inside the button, or you could do an anchor tag with an ng click. I mean, you can do it pretty much however you want. It just looks for a click on that particular element. Well, that's pretty much the series. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, let me know. Totally like and or subscribe if you want to see more videos. Other than that, thanks for watching and have an awesome day.